Welcome back to the Federal Executive Forum on Federal News Network. We're talking about cybersecurity and defense and homeland. And wanted to roll back up to you, Bob, and talk about a specific program. Again, you've been over there 2 or 3 months, I think it's been, I can't remember, but a short time, but you've been in the community for quite some time here. Give us a highlight of something that you'd like to point out in regards to some of the activity that's going on over there at CISA.
Sure. So a couple initiatives that I think are really important to us. So I've taken a different approach, as I'm new to this role. So we're running a lot of proof of values and proof of concepts, and I'm working really extensively with my team on how to do those effectively so that we have good outcomes and good reports from them. So we're doing a lot of that to, continue to push forward on zero trust, which is vitally important to us. To protect our, most critical systems as well as just our general operating environment. The second area that I'm concentrating extremely heavily on is Eto Modernization. It makes no sense to roll out these great new solutions and then try and go through the old paperwork ATO process. I want it to be very agile. I want it to be automated where possible. And I want it to be effective for the operators so that we're not tying people up producing documentation that maybe doesn't produce true security value. The third area I'm extremely proud to have been a part of is the Hacc Dhs Initiative, which has been extremely positive. It was a great partnership between CISA and DHS headquarters, and we had amazing support from the secretary and the director of CISA and the DHS CIO. I'm going to expand that effort here and expand our internal pen testing because I see huge value from that approach. And we absolutely want to continue to partner with the hacker community. And it's produced great results in just 4 short months.
Well, I was gonna try to put you on the spot there. I know you can't tell us the special sauce, but just an observation of what you all discovered during that exercise.
Sure. Well, first we discovered that our system owners were more receptive than we thought, which was wonderful. I think at first when you go into something new, people are typically afraid. We don't like change. What are they going to find? We had generally positive responses across the board. The partnership, which you can all view on the DHS website that explains the program more, has been just very positive. It certainly has found some vulnerabilities. I don't have the exact numbers with me right now, but it's helped us, and it's helped us as a department get better. It's helped our teams get better. It's helping me internally with my team, take a new and innovative approach to securing our systems and partnering with a wider breadth of the overall community, which is something that CISA is absolutely pushing forward with across the board.
Yeah, it's amazing that when you peer review anything, it's just and people look at it from a completely different set of lenses, what you can discover. So I applaud you all for really challenging yourselves to do that. And I'm sure it was great results. Jim, how about over at Fortinet? Give us a specific example that you'd like to highlight in regards to what's happening with the cyber ecosystem from where you all sit.
Okay, thank you, Luke. Now, we don't name specific agencies.
Of course.
Their confidentiality. So let me focus on a programmatic capability, software-defined wide area networking, or SD-WAN, and how we used it to support several large cabinet-level agencies that literally have a nationwide footprint. Now, over the last couple of years, of course, they've had their workforce working from home, so they've needed to accelerate their migration to the cloud, and they've wanted to use software as a service, SaaS, to do that. The challenge is they had legacy network architecture that routed all their internet-bound traffic both directions through a central point. You could call it the trombone or the boomerang. And implementing secure SD-WAN allowed them to be able to let the users go directly to the internet without routing through that artificial choke point, improve performance. And because branch offices were still important, even when we did work from home, there were some people who still had to go in. And making these networks in the field software defined allowed them to be centrally managed and configured. So this was a win-win. The same devices that were doing this routing are also next generation firewalls. So you got this better performance the users relied on. You could have this fully encrypted traffic that the agency could still peer into. So you're getting the kind of visibility, as Ron said, you need visibility. You can start supporting zero trust in this fashion because you can tune the level of performance. You could optimize it for things like the video collaboration we're on, deprioritize other things, have smart network routing. So if we start getting, problem with broadband, you fall back to something else. It was a way that the users were happier, the agency could accomplish its mission, and you could support the foundational things you needed to do, like zero trust, demonstrating compliance, and demonstrating the ability to do smart incident response and have playbooks that you could leverage that would give you the visibility from the endpoint back into the core.
Very critical aspect of the ecosystem here. Dave, let's go to you and talk about priorities. You've got internal priorities within Verizon. Obviously, I think you pointed some of that out. You've got sort of external with the customers, if you will. Tell us about these priorities for this year. Top 3 priorities for you all.
Well, from a standpoint of where we look and see, and obviously we have a commercial outlook as well. So I'll try to tie it a little bit more into this space. We're looking from a security standpoint. One of the things we're really focusing in on is how we can bring the security that it integrates in. We talk about zero trust architecture, and a lot of our services around that are really focused on that security piece of it within the network and the reliability of it, but also making it seamless. So it's kind of, it follows you where you go from a security aspect. And that's very important for us because we know that it'll deliver. We talked about, proliferation of endpoints and the edge, but I think that's critical for us. One of the things we're doing is, especially on the mobility front, with everybody in this mobile workforce relative to the environment we're currently in, is how we can secure that, not just on the mobile edge, but also leveraging. We just announced, some of this ultra band, which is allowing us to be more forward-leaning on some of the capabilities, more collaborative, more interactive, allowing people to really press and be engaged with all, still being able to get to the people, information, data, et cetera. And I think that's going to be critical going forward because with devices becomes more pull on the network, and how do we can ensure that we're getting the quality and we're getting the capability delivered. And I think the other thing is we're seeing a lot of the support from the standpoint of services, some of these commercial services, and how we can deliver them, especially when it comes to looking at solutions, working with partners from this, from the zero trust architecture, which was alluded to earlier from the president's directive and what's coming down, and really using a leveraged industry. And so we're looking at that as how we can partner and deliver those, especially around the federal government, DoD, and the intelligence community, because we think it's going to be vital going forward. And one of the things is we have to balance between the agility and security. We never compromise security, but we're in that balance so we can be agile. We can make sure we can deliver the services and capabilities. At the same time, we have to be kind of leaning forward and proactive. We have a very aggressive adversaries who are coming in. Ron knows that better, and of course Rob does too, than all of us, what's happening and how we can be not just defensive and protect the infrastructure, but how we can be proactive and kind of lean forward from an offensive standpoint.
Absolutely. Speed of mission, if you will. Bob, how about at CISA? Again, been over there a few months. I know you've laid down, sort of crystallized your priorities for 2022. Give us that top 3.
Well, first, people. That's going to be our first there.
CISA is hiring, right, Rob?
CISA is absolutely hiring. And we also, rolled out CTMS earlier this year, the Cyber Talent Management System, which is a new accepted service that gives us a wide breadth of capabilities to hire. Excellent. So I think, first is people. Mm-hmm. Second is modernizing the office, and that's taking a hard look at our, the authorization process. And then the engineering lifecycle process is my second area. I want to make sure that is really agile and really lets people perform. And the third is really ensuring that we're implementing and adhering as quickly as possible to the executive orders, and that we're making good forward movement on zero trust and other things like multi-factor authentication, and looking at our identity systems as well, which ties back to the MFA.
Yeah, undoubtedly in very much a build-up mode, right? And so that you can support all these various initiatives, and I applaud you for that. Mark, let's go to you and talk about priorities for this year.
Yeah, I think here at Illumio and as we work with our federal partners, a couple of priorities. Obviously, one, moving from the pilot phase, multiple pilot phases, to more of an enterprise approach or rollout. So that's one thing. At not only at the Department of the Air Force, but other agencies that we're working with now. Also, we're seeing working more on cyber initiatives for weapon systems, right? That's one of the areas that I think a lot of people overlook. Weapon systems, as we define it from an IT perspective, are going to be mission computers, and right, each Air Force jet or Army Stryker vehicle, or even on the civilian side, forward deployed tactical networks, they can be considered some sort of a weapon system. These are very unprotected and are subject to adversary attack. And if they get into one machine and they plant malware, it can spread very quickly and bring down the mission. So we want to make sure that those cyber weapon systems are protected. And according to the National Defense Authorization Act, that actually is included in the language, not only with on-prem, in cloud, but they're also talking about weapon systems. The other thing that I want to have as a tangential to that is we have to also remember about our satellites. They're very unprotected right now from a cyber attack. And the Russians and the Chinese have been actually really working on offensive cyber weapons in space. And we need a way to prevent that lateral movement there as well. So we see that as some big priorities. And also moving a lot of our work that we're doing. We have some work right now in classified networks or air-gapped networks, and bringing a lot of the zero trust initiatives to those areas as well, right? A lot of the folks are talking about moving to the cloud, and that's all well and good depending on the application. But when you have classified systems, and some of them mission critical, I'm not sure if any of those are ever going to move to the cloud, and you're going to need to have zero trust architecture principles applied to these systems so that the insider threat issue will be addressed, and somebody can't take the keys to the kingdom, as it were, and leave the room like we had recently with Snowden.
Yes, these collateral systems, these embedded systems, very tricky, and the insider threat, all very important aspects that you really need to button up. And I think about embedded systems, and I can't think of how massive that challenge must be. Ron, to you all over at the Army, tell us about the priorities that you have laid down. Give us your top 3 or 4 that you're going to be focused on this year in 2022.
Yeah, and that's a great lead in. And as has been discussed about the zero trust architecture and principles, recognize it's really a framework and a journey. It's not a thing, but a critical key priority for 2022, as directed by the DoD CIO and US Cyber Command, is an initiative called Comply to Connect. And this really is the next major step in that network security, so that we can lead to discovery, identification, and documenting all endpoints. And it really is about that you limit you understand what all the endpoints are. You limit the access of those endpoints to what they have demonstrated credentials to get access to. And this is really, really critical. And it's both for external malicious cyber actors, but Luke, as you mentioned, it also is important from an insider threat point of view. So Comply to Connect is a major initiative in the DoD, and clearly that's a priority then for the Army. I would say the next one, which we're also working, and it's again related in this larger zero trust journey, is we are restructuring our Active Directories. Really grew up the Army variety of networks from a theater construct, and we're really moving this year to have an enterprise domain construct. So we're completely reworking our Active Directory, and that will be absolutely critical. Again, related also with the Compliant Connect, but as users move, because the Army is very deployable, as users move around the world, being able to seamlessly reconnect from wherever you're at, opposed to having to re-image computers in the previous domain, theater domain construct. And then I would say, building on what Robert said, again, this all requires us having the highest trained and qualified workforce, both military and civilian. And so our construct about acquiring, developing, employing, and retaining the best talent we can have. There's a lot of tremendous opportunities in the Army, both for military and civilian. And we have some of the really tremendous opportunities for civilians around the world. And so having that workforce is critical, not only for operations, but for sure for cybersecurity.
I'm curious to know how these executive orders that have come out, the recent guidance that's come out of the White House, how's that sort of, is that adjusting your priorities or just allowing you to implement these priorities much easier with some clarity and authority? I'm just curious about that.
Yeah, so I really think in many ways it's complementary. Clearly, the Army is part of the Department of Defense. And when you really think about, as we say, there's a DoD information network. There is not an Army separate. We view it as we'd have the Army portion of the DoD information network. And so what is directed from the Office Secretary of Defense level, principally by the DoD CIO, and then with US Cyber Command, as they are absolutely have the responsibility to operate and defend across that DoD network. We're really part of that. So there's a lot of synergy of what the DoD is working and direction from the administration. I think it feeds back to itself. Again, the DoD, given the scope and scale, is obviously a huge player across the federal government. And I think it's complementary about moving it forward. It isn't any hard left or hard right. It's evolving forward. And we're very in sync with what the administration has been putting out or what was referenced in the recent National Defense Authorization Act. It's very consistent with where we're moving. The challenge is, can we move the pace at which we can move there, right? It's absolutely critical to the Army, to Army readiness and modernization, to have that resilient, capable network environment, enterprise to tactical. And so it is about moving forward, about the pace, about readiness and modernization.
Absolutely. So it sounds like it really sort of helps pave the path for you as you implement these various priorities for the upcoming year. All right, we're going to take a short break and we're going to be right back. You're listening to the Federal Executive Forum on Federal News Network.